Good evening, everybody. Welcome to What's Up Wednesday. We got a cool show for you tonight. In fact, we've got some special guests. Oh, yeah. You might know some of these characters. Introduce yourselves, please. And we have John coming on here shortly. But Rob, introduce yourself. And this is our top. Let me just. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. So medical care is our topic tonight, particularly when traveling. We're going to share some tips that we've all experienced on this crowd of self-care. How do you stay healthy? And if you need medical care, how do you get it? And if somebody else needs care, what should you do about it? So that's kind of our topics tonight. And that's why I've asked Neil and Brittany and Rob, and John's coming on soon. But go ahead and introduce yourselves, please.
Yeah, so I'm Rob Pearson. Up until a week ago, was in Minneapolis. Now I'm in Houston. So that will be my new home base. I'm a 37-year retired flight paramedic, and was also a fire chief, the community where I was. So that'll be my background. And some of you I've met because I do first aid at some of the VanFest events.
Yeah, super great to have you here, Rob. There we go, Neil and Britt.
I am Brittany. I am a registered nurse of 9 years and a travel nurse of 6 years, and also a YouTuber.
And I am Neil. I am her husband, and I am not a nurse. I am, I guess, retired at this point, but I was in law enforcement, so I have a little bit of background in that.
And servants to Bjorn and Mona.
Yes, our cats. Our cats. I don't know where they are right now, hiding, but
they will appear.
That's them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. It's an important topic, and it's really hit home with me a few times over the years. Thankfully, nothing serious. But Rob, if you think back when we were together at that camp out in Florida, nobody associated with our group had he fainted, and it would just freaked everybody out. Right? Remember that?
I do remember that.
I know, right? That was a cold shower on a lot of things. That was interesting. So let me just get through some notes here quick, and then we'll get into the conversation. And this is our topic. So we're going to talk about, again, prevention, safety, preparedness, medical care. And I think throwing in pet care is probably a good idea. A lot of people travel with their pets. You all three have pets. I hope to have one soon again. So that's what we want to hear your tips and your thoughts, if you have anything about things you found when you're traveling, whether it's in a van, an airplane, taking a cruise, whatever it is. That's kind of all on the table tonight. I found this quote. I don't know who it's quoted, but it's a cool quote, and I think any traveler will understand this right away. Life not to escape us, so let's just be prepared. If you can help us with a question format, 3 stars, 3 question marks, it helps me see your question more readily in the chat. And if you have a comment you definitely want to have put up on the screen, it's 3 stars, 3 exclamation points, and that will bring your comment front and center. Events, you got some upcoming events. So what I've been doing is trying to change up some things, but not drastically, and add a little more variety. So I've come up with this idea of a coffee with Scott, a little ad hoc, a libation. We got our What's Up Wednesday, and then our True Believers Travel Zoom for our Patreon folks. So coming up in November, we're doing Bloody Mary's Libation Live this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. That is not 10 p.m. Big typo there. I'll fix that. So if you're not doing anything or you're back from church this Sunday, watch the YouTube Live notification, and you can join me for that. And then on November 25, we're doing coffee with Scott. And I'm going to try and do these in really cool locations. So mark your calendar for that. What's Up Wednesday? Today we're talking medical care. Next week I'm coming at you live from a road trek van. I'm overnighting in a road trek van in Central Florida. So you don't want to miss that. Who doesn't like van tours? And then just before Thanksgiving, I'm doing a live taste test of turkey dinners. We did this last year, and it was so fun. It was so gross, actually. But we're doing it again. I'll try new brands. And if you remember back to last year, the brand that I expected to win was the worst, and the best tasting one was a good old Banquet at $2.50, right? So remember that? Oh my God, so much fun. And then for in-person events, Peace, Love, and Vans, we want to give a shout out to those guys. This is March 7th through the 11th. It's in Dade City, kind of central Florida. And here we got John coming on. Hang tight. Let's bring John on. John, there you are. You made it.
Had to switch to the Starlink Mini.
Nice job, sir. We have an echo, though.
Oh, hang on.
Let me finish my announcements quick while you do that, John. I'm going to move it there. Hang tight, John.
Better?
Yes, much better. Maybe introduce yourself, John.
John Stanton. I'm from Spokane, Washington, where I was a firefighter for 32 years, and I still part-time on the ambulance for spending money.
For spending, and you're on the road and a storyteller, right?
Exactly.
That's
Currently in Arizona.
Oof, nice. And Neil and Britt, we didn't talk about this, but you're in your van as well. That's a Nuvo
Light.
Nuvo Light. And then Rob, what van do you have?
Well, I've got my Travado 59 GL. It's parked in the lot, so I'm in the apartment right now.
That is so great. That is so great. And let me just finish this real quick. And as we kind of go through it tonight, we'll say howdy to folks. Let us know where you're coming, where you're watching from, what your weather is. And if you don't see the flag of the country you're watching from, be sure and shout that out so we can get a flag on the map. So again, tonight we're talking about medical care, how to stay healthy on the road. And these are our topics. And again, thanks for having the guests. Let's kind of get into it. And it's kind of a little bit of a free-for-all discussion, but maybe Rob, everybody, prevention tips. How have you found to stay active while you're traveling in your van?
Yeah. John will probably recognize the name. Gordon Graham taught a number of conferences and stuff over my fire department career. And one of his famous taglines was, if it's predictable, it's preventable. So I bring that up because there are times where we're in the parking lot thinking, oh, I'm just going to go on a short hike. I wonder if I should switch into my hiking boots. Switch into your hiking boots. Having ankle support is huge. If you wonder if you should bring your poles, bring the poles. If you're wondering if you should have a rain jacket or an extra sweatshirt, bring the rain jacket or sweatshirt. So just mentally in your head, staying prepared and anticipating, because things obviously change quick. And sometimes even on those short hikes, if something happens, you may or may not be around other people. So you're going to have to take care of yourself. So if it's predictable, it's preventable. Obviously, the best way to take care of ourselves is to not have something happen to begin with. So that's how I'll start the conversation off. Do what you can to not have to take care of yourself.
That is so great.
I can add to that too, that if that unexpected does happen, it's really nice to have a fully charged cell phone and a battery pack with you. Especially if you're using GPS, it just sucks the power really quick. I also have a GPS or satellite. I have InReach, a mini satellite for communication, and now I guess most iPhones have satellite texting as well.
Texting as well, yeah. And John, and maybe Neil, you can, and Brittany for that matter, chime into this. Staying active, going to the gym. John, how often do you go to the gym?
I just got back from the gym. That's why I'm a little late. Pretty much every day.
He's pretty good. Neil, you're pretty fitness oriented. How have you tried to stay active and fit on the road?
Yeah, we're going there after we get off this. We have memberships at Anytime Fitness and also at Planet Fitness. And generally, because I like to kind of lift heavier bodybuilder style, we'll find a local gym when we're in an area. But I go used to be 5-6 days a week. Kind of overdid it. Lately, it's been 3 to 4 days a week. And then now trying to incorporate, just because of my age being in my mid 30s now, I'm starting to get a little bit smarter. We're starting to do more hiking, biking when we actually get our bikes out here on the van, since we haven't been back to Florida yet. But things like that, and focusing, you need to focus on strength training. That helps you stay healthier for much longer. A lot of people don't realize that, but you need to. A lot of people just go down the cardio route, which you need, but you also need to focus on strength training. A lot of medical research can show that that'll actually prevent you later on in life from having serious joint issues and stuff, as long as you're doing it smart, not stupid like I have in my 20s.
Brittany. I think also a lot of times when I'm in the gym, they have like yoga classes or like stretching. I've really learned from this personal training thing that stretching is so important because we sit a lot in these vans. On a bike, that's pretty good too, but it's only using some of the body. Man, Brittany, do you do any yoga or anything like that? You just stretch too much at work that you don't have to.
Stretching. I would say I always stretch when we go to the gym. Neil is really bad at that, so I'll call him out on that one right now, because stretching is really important before and after you work out. So I just do it in general, and even when we stop at a rest area, we'll get out and we'll stretch, and I'll do the full like up and then touch my toes, all that. Like, we gotta be moving our bodies. It's so important. When we stop moving, that's when all of the problems start happening.
It's so true. And I've been to a number of events this year, and the active seniors just blows me away. And I've been on hikes with some of you, and they're outrunning me by a mile. I'm like, holy cow, got to keep up with that senior citizen. I'm like, unbelievable. Let's cover two other things real quick around prevention. What about clean water coming into your van? How do you take care of not getting any gross water?
I keep my own water. I water bottled water for me. I don't trust the van.
Okay.
So we're a little fancy. So on the Nuvos, they actually come with a UV water filter. So it's a multi-stage water filtration system. So we could actually pump from rivers or whatnot into this, and it'll actually make it drinkable. So we're a little spoiled with that. And then also another item is the life straw. So especially if you're out hiking and things, that's to us is, something like that or similar is the best thing to have with you no matter what in a van, just because you can take it with you on the go. But we use a pre-filter outside right at the spigot, and then we also have the system inside to make sure. We used to do a lot of bottled waters when we had our Travato and our Storyteller and stuff like that, just because we liked we didn't trust that one filter necessarily for drinking, but now that we got this set up, we trust it much more.
That's cool.
There's the life straw.
Thank you.
So that's the life straw. That's all the bigger it is. Fits in a pocket nicely, and you can drink water out of pretty much anything if you have to.
Really, life straw. Any idea? So if you just Google or go to Amazon and type in life straw, it probably pops up.
Or
right?
drop by your local Costco. I think there's a 4-pack there for like $40.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I might do that.
Great stocking stuffer.
Christmas is coming. Rob, any thoughts?
No, I use the green zero filter for the water, but in my van, I don't drink from my tap. I keep an extra 5-gallon jug that I also filter, so that jug I can clean and bleach more often. So when I'm drinking water or making coffee, I'm using the water out of the jug, not the tap. Yeah. So and with that too is, and part of the prevention theme too is wash your hands and keep your fingers out of your nose, because that's the way we inoculate ourselves with flu and other viruses. So it's a habit to break.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. So sanitation, which kind of brings me to the thought I had, which is I use the same filter that Rob does. It's green. And the key to clean water is filtering out the bad stuff. And these guys go down to less than a micron. A lot of campers I see using the blue filters, and if you look at them, they're like 5 to 10 microns. So a lot of that stuff's getting through. So I filter it coming into the van, and then I use that onboard water for shower and sink and toilet. But the cold water tap in the kitchen also has a Culligan point, 1 micron as well. So it's getting double filtered there. And then when I'm filling up the van, I have a 5-gallon in the back, and then I have 2 of these, and these fit in my cupboard down below. And I just found that is really easy. Then not drinking from the tap, but it's the same water basically. Great point. And the other thing I would say, and thank you, Rob, for how many times because because none of us would do it. Watch the other guy at the campground do his sewer, and then he's touching this and he's touching that. There's such cross contamination. You want to go over and smack him and say, "Hey, even though you got gloves on, you just put shitty hands on everything." So washing hands, being super careful about cross contamination, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And cleaning your actual van or RV tank too once in a while.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't do that. And that is really essential. My mother works in the pharmaceutical world. Your background's in, environmental sciences and biology. And she showed me some stuff that, make sure you get that at least done. I would personally say a couple times a year, but it can get rough if you're somebody that doesn't use your van every single day or live in it full time. Got that water just moving through constantly. If you let it sit, that can be a cesspool.
That's going to grow. Yep.
Yeah, pretty gross. Let's say hi to some folks. I'm going to get into our next topic, which is safety tips. So let's just say hi to some folks. Here's Bill and Joe saying howdy. They're down here in Florida now. Here we got Mark. Mark, this is great news. Excited as I can be. I'm not a wannabe anymore. Put down deposit on a Nova RB at Sunshine State this afternoon. Let's give a big clap out for Mark in Orlando. I actually talked to Nick at Sunshine today, and he was telling me about that. And you're going to get outfitted with the RVer bike rack, the box, the ladder tire carrier. So on your new Nova, congratulations, sir. I'm really excited for you. And he said you mentioned that we met at the Peace, Love, and Vans the first year. So while dreams are real, they take a little time sometimes. But man, let me tell you, I'm so excited for you to get that van. Who remembers taking delivery of their van, right? Day that changed your life. 100%. Here's Rob. Hello from New Home Base. Ooh, gas is cheap there. We got Eric in the house. We know Eric. He's a great guy. Here's Van Liberty. Thanks for being here. Leaving Texas to catch a Flight 6 of SpaceX Starship. They will be catching that 20-story tiller booster. It's going to be super. Oh, really? They're doing another launch, huh? Flight 6. That would be something to see. Man, that's cool. This is the traveling show, and med info is perfect. And thank you, Van Liberty. This was actually brought up by a audience friend. So I thought it would be a good one to bring up. So keep your questions coming in. Let's see. Here's Eric saying, I've been lucky with no medical care needed on the road. Primary care doctor in Florida did have a problem with earwax in California. Stopped at the walk-in clinic, back on the road in 2 hours. That's really great to know. And that's kind of what we want to share with you here in just a little bit. So let's talk about safety tips. First aid, weather awareness, situational awareness. John, how do you kind of think through that, being a paramedic and fire guy? That's got to be, you probably walk into these situations and are just horrified how unprepared people are. So what are some safety tips kind of from a traveler perspective?
I research where you're going, and don't use just one source, because one person may have a totally different opinion, especially if you're going out for a hike. You want to know what you're going to encounter. It's nice to know what not only hazards on the road, or hazards on the trail, but insects and snakes and whatever else you might encounter. You might want to know that and wear appropriate clothing for that. But I know if I'm picking a spot and I'm out by myself, for sure, I research it pretty detailed to find out everything I can find out about the spot before I head out.
Super great advice. And you'd mentioned insects. I never had a fire ant bite before. And last year I had my left foot. I think my left foot. Man, that was not fun. Now I kind of look for ants when I parking someplace. Neil, Brittany, safety tips, weather.
Go ahead.
There's so many things you could talk about, though.
Yeah. So I have multiple apps on my phone to check weather, track weather. Like right now we're in Washington. We're on the coast. It's great. We're getting hit with a crazy storm, though, at the moment. You can see behind us. But they get snow, just an hour away. You're entering up into the Cascades, you get snow. So we want to go camping up there. We're always monitoring the weather, just trying to keep track no matter where we are, especially when we're down in Florida back home, or if we're in traveling through Texas or Oklahoma, we really stay aware, if it's during those seasons, tornado season or hurricane season. But it's really just having, kind of like John said, ahead of time where we're going. We do a lot of research, kind of check out the general areas where we plan on sleeping to stay safe. And then also it's a good idea just to kind of see, like Eric said in the comments, if you're going to have to go to and get a quick trip at urgent care or whatever, I'm always ahead on a swivel. So if we drive by one, I kind of note it and just say, okay, that's about 10 minutes away from where we're staying. So, God forbid something happens, where it is, you get over there nice and quick.
Great points. Rob, any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about being in a van, right? If you don't like the weather or you don't like your neighbors, you can move. So I kind of second to what those guys say, but it's trust the hair on the back of the neck factor. If things just don't seem right, they're kind of weird, I just move on. That's and I've had that happen a few places where I was going to park and just run into the store quick, and there was a weird vibe with some of the other patrons coming in and out, and it's like I didn't need anything critical at the store. I just went on to the next town. So maybe a little bit paranoid, but that's part of safety, right? And that's the situational awareness you talk about.
Yeah, 100%. And I have to thank Van Liberty for this. So I got a road safety. They're not flares, but they're LED flares. So if there's something in the night, I've used them several times when my van was in a precarious parking spot at a campground of all things, state park in Texas, outside of Dallas. So I have those. I don't have flares, the illuminating ones, the fire ones, but these LEDs, which are really great. I would recommend folks put that in. I have a first aid kit that I can put in my backpack if I'm going hiking, and then I have one in the van. So if something is kind of serious, I can deal with it. And maybe we'll talk about preparedness here in a second, but on situational awareness. So like most of us in vans, I think, Rob, your comment on just the hair on the back of your neck, just common sense. And if you have a gut feel that's not right, it's just move along. And where I've never had a problem really is again, just kind of scouting around a little bit and then go into like a coffee shop or a bar or something, just ask if this, here's what I'm doing, here's where I am, this is a good place to stay up, is it okay to park overnight? And if they say, no, this is a horrible place, I'm like, adios, here's my tip for your advice. And off I go. So it's super great. Let's, so that's safety tips. And the weather thing, and the one, Neil, that I've really found, Apple Weather does a pretty good job, but AccuWeather, the paid version is really, really good, right?
So AccuWeather's it's what all the storm chasers always have. They keep it on their phones. That and then NOAA. So the NOAA app, it's it's the actual organization, the national organization that kind of monitors all the weather. They have an app. They have a free version that's pretty decent, and they have a paid version. If I was going to use the paid version of that app, I would just get AccuWeather, because AccuWeather has a lot more information. But if you want a free one, the free NOAA app is pretty good. And then, like you said, Apple's is actually surprisingly pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree. I think they draw data from the Weather Channel, which is pretty good too. Let's say hi to a few more folks, and then our next topic is preparedness. This will be a juicy one. I'm excited for this. Let's say hi to Jane and Roger in Northern Illinois. And meatloaf she makes the best meatloaf. They're like a little muffin tin size. Oh my God, they're so good. Yeah, you're making my mouth water, Jane. That's not fair. Here's Dale's in the house tonight. Appreciate that. San Diego, super cool. Denimru. And Neil and Britt, what are you doing in here? Anacortes, that's a cool area. I've been there a long time. Here's John in the house. Good to see you, sir. Back at home base in New York for a couple of weeks. 35 degrees. Missed being on the road already. Isn't that true? I've had it's crazy. No way. Eric saying he's ran into 2 travel nurses to State Park yesterday. That's pretty cool. Here's Jack. We got Georgia Jack in the house. Congratulations, Rob. That's cool. Let's see. Trying to capture the names. Van Liberty saying he'll be at Peace Loving Vans. Here's Peggy, special guest. I love it. Yeah. I really appreciate them taking their time out. Here's Endless Epic Adventures. What's up, Scott? Howdy, Neil and Britt. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that. That's Peggy and Ashley. Remember to mention your YouTube channel, Neil and Britt. And I think Endless Epic Adventures, that's the YouTube channel that Ashley's doing, right? So that's pretty cool. There's a few more here. Here's Kim and Tim from Fort Worth. Yeah, I love Fort Worth. Oh my God, one of my favorite towns. Here's Susan. Appreciate you being here. Here's Scott and Company from Jim Banks. Appreciate you being here. And let's go say hi to Bill. Chilly, Western Maryland. Oh, that's pretty cool. Here's Jim saying, "Uh-oh, hey Neil and Brad." Good to see you there. And here's Matt. Matt's in the house. Stay hydrated. Good point. Yes, sir. All right, next topic: preparedness tips. Some things I thought of was healthcare insurance. What if your healthcare only works in your state? Brittany, do you have any thoughts on healthcare insurance or health insurance? And by the way, we're not dispensing medical or insurance advice tonight.
Yes, we are not dispensing advice. We're just having discussions. So there's a lot of options when it comes to insurance. So you should, of course, reach out to your local experts in your area to discuss all of these things. But so one of the things being on the road, one of your options is private insurance. So that is one thing that you can look into, because that is a type of insurance that you can use in all 50 states, and it can be used at any healthcare facility. So that is actually something that we utilize. I should say he utilizes, because, as I said, it's something you got to talk to experts about, because it can be very good and it can also be not so good, like all other options out there can be. So just do your research and look into that, because private insurance can be amazing to have, because you can use it anywhere and not just in the state you reside in.
That's a great point. What about having medical records with you? This is something I've kind of learned the hard way. It was a couple years ago. It's gotten a little bit better, because now a lot is in the app from your insurance provider or medical group associated with. But any thoughts? I used to print mine out, and I would literally, if I had to go see one of the urgent care places, I would kind of lay out so they had a little bit of background on this issue that I was, like sprained back muscles usually is what it was about. But so I would recommend having access to your medical information so you can talk to a provider, so you're not having to go through a whole bunch of tests that are kind of maybe not necessary. So they have a little background on you. Any other thoughts on that? Medical records?
No, I mean, there's a lot of phone apps too. It's easy to even take a picture of some of that stuff and keep it in your photos. And then I always recommend too, people have a phone contact called ICE, ICE, which stands for in case of emergency. So if someone has access to your phone, and even if people are passed out, now the facial recognition or the thumbprint will unlock the phone. You can scroll down and get into ICE and find out who your emergency contact is. Just one of those things, you may never use it, but in that one event, having someone that knows you makes a big difference.
Huh. Didn't even know that. That's a good idea.
Use that on the job a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Most people not have it?
Oh, no, a lot of people do have it. So
Really?
get into their phone and find out more about them when they can't answer questions.
Huh. That's clever. That's a good tip.
Or always scroll through and look for mother. No matter how old you are, someone always has a mother.
Or an ex-wife. I don't know. Or ex-husband. You probably want to dial that one up. What about prescriptions on the road? So if you're on an extended trip, like Neil and Britt, you guys are away from Florida for months and months and months at a time. How do you deal with getting new prescriptions or prescriptions refilled while you're traveling around?
So we use this a lot. So one of the main ones we use is Walmart. Why do we use Walmart? Because Walmart can be found almost anywhere. So because we travel around so much, we want a pharmacy that you can find almost anywhere. And another reason we use that versus something that maybe can get mailed to us is because we don't always have an address. And if you want to use a provider like Amazon, for example, can actually send you prescriptions through the mail. Really amazing. But if you don't have an actual home address and say you only have a P.O. box or something of that sort, they will not send your medication to you. So that is just something to note, and a reason why we use places like Walmart and Walgreens that are found in many, many states.
That's a great point.
And pets too, by the way.
Yes.
We have one of our cats is on a seizure medicine, and they mess up the medicine all the time. So if we had it just mailed to us, we wouldn't catch those mess ups, and it would, obviously be a longer process, but you can use it for your animals too. So just figured I'd include that.
That's a good point. What I found, and I like your Walmart idea. So I do a mail order, and I get like a 90-day supply for some of the medicine, which makes it really easy. So you only have to deal with it 4 times a year. And they're associated with CVS. And there's a lot of CVSs around. So I can actually, it takes a little bit of work, but pick it up there. But it's much easier if it just gets shipped here. Then Kyle will ship it to wherever I am if I'm gone for an extended period of time. But I'm actually ordered ahead on some of the stuff for like 6 months. So it's really a nice program. The app reminds you when it's time to renew. So I'm sure everybody's on something these days. I'm on high cholesterol myself, which is it's working, by the way. But having your prescriptions with you, and again, using your phone to capture that information so you don't have to dig for it someplace, I think is super important. What about, we talked about first aid kits. I'm curious, all 4 of you, what about taking a first aid class? What good is a kit if you don't know what to do with anything? Maybe a tourniquet? I don't know. Rob, let me see if I can get this up on screen. We'll give this one to Rob. What is this?
So when I go hiking, I have a camel pack with my water, and then I put some snacks and whatever else in there. But I also carry a tourniquet, primarily for me, but obviously as a paramedic, John and Brittany will say the same thing, is if something happens, you don't want to feel helpless. You want to, be able to help somebody else. But the tourniquets serve for me. So one of the things, you can get tourniquets online for fairly cheap nowadays. But regardless of what equipment or stuff that you have, make sure you know where it is and make sure you know how to use it. So tourniquets, for example, is the one thing that could actually save a life if you need to stop bleeding, right? So if you're out in the middle of the trail and you snap your leg, you can crawl back to the car. But if you've got active, aggressive bleeding, you need to stop that. So a tourniquet is the one way to do that if it's an extremity. But with that tourniquet, make sure that you don't just practice putting it on yourself using your dominant hand. Make sure you practice putting it on yourself using your non-dominant hand. Because if it's your dominant hand that's injured, you have to be familiar with how to put that tourniquet on in an awkward fashion. So the tourniquet itself is great. You can get them online for under $10. But if you don't practice with it, it will be useless at the time that you actually need it. And just talking to some people too about first aid and emergencies, and we would kind of mention situational awareness, which is a big buzzword in fire and EMS communities. But if you have something happen to you, you're going to get a dump of adrenaline. And that adrenaline changes your brain. You go into fight, flight, or freeze, and you lose your prefrontal cortex, which the stuff we're talking about today, the skills you would use, your psychomotor skills to put the tourniquet on, you need your prefrontal cortex in order for that to happen. So the number one step in any first aid emergency, if you get nervous or get scared, or if you get a dump of adrenaline, the first step is to stop and take a deep breath. An exaggerated deep breath helps minimize the adrenaline and cortisol dump, and it also helps stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can gain control. And that deep breath may only take just a second or 3, but that is a vital time that is well spent. So I always tell people, make sure you take a deep breath and then do what you need to do. And people are resourceful. And if you get in an emergency and something happens, I mean, duct tape, super glue, whatever you got, you can usually figure it out. But you want to have your brain working in order to do that. So take a deep breath. John, would you agree?
100%. and it's happened to me before. Something super unexpected. And the first thing through my head is like, afterward, I thought, what the heck was I thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a natural phenomenon. I mean, it's an old caveman instinct. And it's just, it's meant to protect us. And you want the adrenaline. The adrenaline provides some benefit for you. But the problem is you lose your prefrontal cortex and you can't think straight. So take a deep breath. Other things too is the first aid kit is this, something major. You want to be able to stop the bleeding. That's the one thing that's time critical. In addition to choking, that's time critical. But you'd kind of mentioned is if it's worth taking a first aid class, and absolutely it is. You can usually find them online in local communities. Sometimes they're free, sometimes they're $40, $50. And for van lifers, you probably don't need a certificate that you carry around in your wallet. So if you do need some certification that for your job, that's a different topic. But a general first aid class at least gets you mentally prepared and provides some insight to things you may not be thinking about. But most of people out there are resourceful. Most of them maybe parents or have had some first aid in high school or CPR class 20 years ago. That stuff never leaves you. So if someone started choking in a restaurant in front of you, I guarantee you what you learned 30 years ago, it'll kick right back in.
Well, that's what I'm terrified of, is something happens to somebody else and I'm there. I feel like I'm responsible to do something, and I don't want to be there with the guy 911 and the person is bleeding out or whatever. Choking is particularly concern to me. So I've often thought about doing a meet and greet, channel roundup at a first aid class. So that's one of my goals for next year, is to do that in various places. For me, we were talking about Boy Scouts earlier. Boy Scouts for me was a few minutes ago, so I don't know if I would remember all the stuff.
Your instincts would kick back in,
I suppose. Yeah. Any thoughts from you? And then we're going to talk about getting some medical care tips. Like you need to go see a professional, but when there's me, but then if I'm rolling up into a situation, like I was hiking in Arizona, and it was 2 moms and 3 little kids, and the kids were like batshit crazy everywhere on these rocks, and it was really scary for me. And I thought, what if something happened? What are some tips you would have if something happens to somebody else? How do you address the situation, calm those around, and is somebody going to act as the authority to help remedy the situation versus a screaming mom or something? I'm just curious. Any thoughts on rolling into a situation where you need to be in charge? But
well, if someone's not knocked unconscious, regardless of what's going on with them, you've got some time. So call 911, see what you can do to calm them down. If someone is unconscious, the one thing you can do that makes a huge difference is just roll them onto their side. And I think that's the one thing I always caution people is people are afraid to move someone if they're ill or injured. But sometimes you have to move people, and getting someone on their side makes a big difference. It prevents them from choking, and it minimizes the chance of aspiration, which can cause additional problems if they aspirate. So just rolling someone on the side, it may not seem like a lot and it just takes a moment, but that's a huge thing. And if they're breathing and they've got a pulse, they can lay on their side for a long time until help gets there.
Okay. Interesting. Brittany.
Hello.
All right. Let's say hi to some folks, and we'll talk about getting medical care, and then we'll talk about some pet tips as well. So thanks for being here. We got a nice group in here tonight. Okay, let's say so. Van Liberty saying he's got the life straw in his Embassy RV. We love Embassy RV. So does Eric, apparently. I've never heard of these, so I learned something tonight. Are you having libation live there, John?
Maybe.
I'll have to get mine out in a second. So here's Eric. Good for you, sir. You're ahead of me. Goes on and 0.2 micron. That's a pretty good one. That's good. Where's this one down here? So YouTube user wants to know, please provide the name and specifics on the green water filter, Clear 2O. Do I have that right, Britt, Anil?
It's the only one on the shelf that's green.
It's the only one on the shelf that's green. So it's green, Clear 2O. You can get them online from their website. Walmart carries them. What you're going to have a heart attack about is you look at the blue one for like $5, and you look at the green one, and it's like $20. You're going to be like, Jesus. And I'm like, but that's why, because it works better. Right? So don't be thrown off by that. Baja Bound. That's so fun. You guys are doing that. Oh, this is a good one too. Thank you, Life and Death. Fuel pump handles are supposed to be the most contaminated contact item, worse than sewage fittings. Yeah, door handles come in that. TV remotes at a motel. I mean, good Lord, right? I have actually, for that very thing here, Life and Death you're talking about, is I have the the disinfecting wipes in the cup holder in the door. So when I'm touching something like the gas pump's a perfect example, I give my hands a good wipe down after I've done my stuff there before I even pull away. I touch the steering wheel, right, for cross contamination. Yeah, Eric said they can be filmed at the filters at Walmart. Here's Sherry. Good to see you, ma'am. Oh, no. Let's see. Here's Jim again. Okay, let's talk. This is a good segue. So Peggy here. What did I? Speaking of blood, I'm bleeding on myself. I'm not sure what I was doing.
Where's your first aid kit?
I know. I'm going to get the Windex and a paper towel. That's how I fix that problem. Let's see. Peggy's got a comment here. While at home base recently, I had to go to urgent care, and the Lucy Lou also needed. Oh, that's the dog vet. Glad it happened before we left 4 months. What about kind of going to the doctor before you go? Thank you, Peggy, for that. I appreciate that. Probably not a bad idea if you're going for like a year trip. Go see the doctor, right, and just make sure everything's working. I think that's not bad. So let's talk about getting medical care. So the occasions I've had to go is with my fire ant bite thing. That was really bad. I sprung a lower back muscle. That happens to a lot of folks where you just need to get some medical care, a big cut or something like that. So any thoughts? Urgent care is kind of what has worked for me. And I roll in there with my medical information so they know what's going on. Any thoughts if you need to go see somebody? Emergency room is kind of the obvious thing, but yeah.
Just be aware of what it is you're going for, because urgent care is great for sutures or if you got something stuck in your eye. But if you need x-rays or there's something more complicated, I'd go right to the emergency department at the local hospital. Yeah, urgent care is going to end up transferring you there anyways. So the minor stuff, urgent care, more than capable. But if it's something more notable, I would just go right to the ER.
Totally agree with you. If chest pain, shortness of breath, don't even think about it.
Yep.
You'll get an ambulance ride.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't try to save that ambulance money in those circumstances.
Nope.
Ta-da!
There's also cases where if you think you might have something minor like an ear infection, there are a lot of insurance plans, and also Amazon is doing this now as well, where there's a monthly program you can pay for, and you have access 24/7 to primary healthcare doctors. So you can just log into the app and tell them what's going on, and they'll send you an antibiotic to your local pharmacy. So if you think you already know what's going on, you don't even have to necessarily even go to an urgent care center.
That's cool. Like strep throat, I get that somewhat less as I get older, but I know exactly what it is, and I know what the remedy is. Get the penicillin pills or whatever it is. But that's super helpful. Let's see what else on there. So let's talk about pets. So what tips do you have on pets? I think back to when I had Vanlife Luke. Poor Luke, greatest cat. Except for your cats and Chris and Benny's cats and John's cat. What have you learned kind of over the years of traveling with your pets in particular, or if you're having to house them at home base, what tips have you had around that you can share with the folks?
I have
John?
multiple copies of all their records. I keep one in the glove box here, pretty much in my truck as well, because the dog was with me on the truck all the time. But yeah, so instant access to all their records. Probably could have put them on my phone. I put everything else for me on my phone. I could have done the same thing there and made copies of those and put them on the phone as well.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, because most of the places, if you have it on your phone, is they'll give you someone's email and they can print it off. So even if you just take a photo on your phone, most of those places have a capability of printing.
We keep a folder with us, so we have a folder for the cats, and had that with us on the road all these years, and it's worked out really well in a lot of circumstances for us. Just having everything, I mean, every single document from the moment we got them, we keep with us.
Yep.
What about if you have to leave them while you're traveling? So if you have to fly someplace and you can't take them with you, what things have you learned about that?
We just went through this. So, I mean, we're lucky because if it's a circumstance where one person can go, then one of us just stays like I just did. But we generally, we have friends around the majority of the country. So usually we have a friend that'll offer just to take care of the cats while we're gone for a few days. We would use pet lodges or things like that, or pet sitter apps if we could, if we had that chance. With us though, it's a little bit different just because one of our cats with a seizure disorder, it's putting that on somebody to feed her a pill in the AM and in the PM, we don't like doing so much because it's not necessarily the most enjoyable experience sometimes.
For the person or the cat?
Could be for both.
Yeah. When I had Luke with me and had to fly someplace, what I did is I think we chose PetSmart. So most of bigger towns would have a PetSmart. Certainly if I was flying out of a medium or large city, they would have a PetSmart around. And I'd really nicked myself somehow. And so they had a record of his previous visits at other locations. So that was a great comfort to me. He was kind of clueless the first time. The next time Vanlife Luke was going into the kennel thing, he was not a happy camper. And the third time he was really upset with me for several days. But at least I knew he was going to be taken care of. It was a chain. So I could be confident I wasn't looking for a mom and pop thing. And just the continuity of records across locations is really, really nice. Haven't found that with vets, even though it might be a vet associated with a PetSmart, but they're kind of independent. Well, this has been super. Man, this hour just flies by. Let's say hi to a few more folks, and I'm gonna have to pop this top. I'm getting all. This is my last Coors Banquet. Cheers, everybody. Did you finish yours?
Oh God, no.
Cheers with our water.
Ooh.
Now officially in Texas, I had to switch to the Shiner.
Yeah. Wait till you gotta go to Shiner, the town of where the brewery is. It's really close to Austin, actually. Just like 90 minutes away, something like that. You won't stay long because there's nothing there except the brewery, unfortunately. But down there's also what's the name of the town? Starts with an E, but that's where the Come and Take It cannon is actually housed in a museum from the Mexican-Texan War. Come and take it. You can actually go see it. So here's Bill saying, for bad weather, I use Ryan Hall Y'all here on YouTube. So apparently Neil's familiar with that. Never heard of it. Here is carrying a light trauma kit in the van, including a stop the bleeding kit and tourniquet, and take advanced first aid training. Pre-packed kits are convenient, but 4 times the cost of packing your own. That's kind of an interesting idea. There's probably an American Red Cross or something that has a list of stuff, right? Because if you look at a first aid kit, they are kind of expensive. Like, geez, what are you getting? A million Band-Aids, right?
You just get a little duffel bag or something that fits in wherever it is you want to store it. You can buy all this stuff individually for a fraction of the cost. Just go to the pharmacy section at Walmart or anywhere and grab some Band-Aids, 4x4s. The one thing we didn't mention too, but stuff to put in it, is I always like to have a triple antibiotic and an antifungal cream. Again, we're not dispensing medical advice, but it's not uncommon to get rashes or weird infections that we're traveling the country. So all of a sudden you get nicked, and you're like, I don't know if it's an bacterial infection or if it's something fungal. But if you have both creams, you can try one. Usually start with the antibiotic, like Neosporin or some kind of triple antibiotic, and that'll act fairly quick if it is truly bacterial. But if the skin infection or rash is not healing, switch to the antifungal. You got a 50-50 chance. Fungal infections take a little bit longer to heal. So that'll at least get you by if it's not something too serious. And you can get those over the counter for cheap.
Good advice. So here's Endless Epic Adventures for weather.
Gaia.
GPS, thank you. Garmin, InReach, and local weather and YouTube channels. So you're kind of a weather nerd. Is that what I'm understanding, Neil?
Well, Gaia is just a great app. It shows you boundaries of private and public land, who owns it, where you can hunt, where you can sleep and camp out. So it's actually like iOverlander on steroids. But people don't. It's different. You'd have to just go look at it. It's definitely something. Or if you probably heard of Onyx Off-Road, it's the same idea. It's a map app, but then they have tons of additional. And Gaia's really kind of going crazy now. Gaia's included everything. Didn't even think of that, to be honest.
So some interesting comments. So this is life and death again. Good private insurance can be expensive for sure, and the out of network. So yeah, do your research, as Brittany said.
Yeah.
Here's Kathmandu. Good to see you. Is there a particular private insurance provider that you recommend?
Yeah. So anybody they could just shoot us a message on any of our social media or whatnot, and we could actually put them in touch with my insurance broker that we work with. He works with Freedom,
But there's several.
Yeah, several other.
Because it's so personalized. So.
Yeah. And I would say probably the best private insurance you can get, hands down. Like, I have everything covered. No, like, deductibles are basically nothing, etc. And we pay a little over $300 for me a month. So I'm younger and I don't have any health problems and I don't take any medications. So obviously that was a factor for
Many factors.
Yeah, for me getting a good price. So.
And you're married to a nurse. That helps.
That too.
Except we paid a lot more for her private insurance before she used her company's insurance. So, yeah.
Yeah, this life and death, they've given us good stuff here. So yeah, on the refills and what have you, it really kind of depends. So you can read his comment there on refills of RXs. So again, it's kind of do your research.
We've dealt with this a lot, Scott.
Yeah, me too. And
that's information's a little wrong in that, to be honest. We actually just dealt with it a couple weeks ago. So it's they will cancel your additional in a couple states that we've been to, but it's only if you're redoing it you're getting a refill for the second time, right? In that state, is that what it was?
It's all confusing.
It's very confusing. But if you go in and get one filled, say like we just got here, we go to Walmart, we get it filled, they're not going to cancel. They'll go through, tell the amount of refills we have when we're in a state, but they will not give us a new additional refill after those initial ones are done. We actually, like, normally we could just go in and put it in the app that we need a refill and it'd be fine. They contact our doctor, everything, they handle it all. But now we have to basically do all the legwork, which isn't a big deal. It's a phone call or a message through our apps, through our vet for that cat's medicine, and then you use all online for yours.
Yeah,
so,
it's all apps.
Yeah, she uses all online for her prescriptions. Yeah, so it's a weird thing. We've only dealt with one state that was super, super strict, and that was actually Vermont or New York.
Mm-hmm.
It was Vermont. It was one of our homes where we're from. Is the only state that was actually super strict. All the others have refilled for us, no problem. Every other state.
And that brings up another point we kind of skipped over, Scott, is it's worth your time to develop a relationship with your doctors. So if they know you're traveling and you're in some of these weird situations, they're more apt to help you because they work for you. And if you find that your primary doctor is not helping you or very accommodating, get a new doctor. There's a lot of them out there, and you want them to take care of you.
Yeah, it's really a great point. And a lot of them now, maybe thanks COVID, they'll do telemedicine with your own doctor. You can schedule an appointment. So it's not something real serious. You want to talk to the person that knows you best in that regard. That's a great way to go. I've actually done that. And that's been really nice. And again, the whole point of this, ladies and gentlemen, is just to kind of think this through when you're traveling. It should not, I don't think, be a stressful situation if we get a little ahead of it, do the right things, and just amazing comments from our guests, dispensing some good conversation tonight. Let's see. Here, Bill's got a question here. I have no clue. Does anyone here get their meds through the VA Veterans Administration? Where's Mason Mike when you need him? I don't know.
Most of my friends do. They don't have any issues with it on the road.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You can now tell the VA where you want everything to go to, and you can pick your doctors. There's been a lot of recent changes. But all my best friends use the VA for their meds, and it's been fine for them. I haven't ever heard one of them complain on the road issues getting medications, or and it's actually easier because sometimes we'll struggle to find if we need to get a doctor in an area. Say it's not something urgent, try to get into a doctor and not go to urgent care or the ER. That's almost impossible. But occasionally if you get lucky, but then if you have to go to a specialist, and it just becomes this like downhill effect. But my friends that go through the VA, they can just go to local wherever they're at if there's a VA hospital, which is really great for at least for them. Still needs some work, the program, but it's a little bit easier for them.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see, just a couple more. We'll go. We're just at the end of the question. So just here's one from Taurus. Oh, here's Peggy. Got an interesting point. We carry pet insurance, a personal choice, not cheap. So that might be an idea. And Taurus has got a question. Oops, I just put it up there. Shouldn't the emergency room be an absolute last resort from a cost perspective, despite having great insurance coverage? I got a huge out of pocket for my last ER visit. It kind of depends on
the problem.
Yeah, right. If your arm's cut off, I don't think I'd stumble into the CVS clinic, but something serious for sure. I would, I'm sure they all work it out in the end somehow. But well, this has been great. I'm just looking seriously. Oh yeah, Matt. Thank you, Matt. What a fantastic panel. Let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And kind of last minute, reached out to you all last week and thought this was going to be the topic. And again, if you're watching and you have a topic you want covered, drop it in the comments. I'm way behind, but I do read them pretty regular. Way behind on answering, or the email. It's go small, live large @gmail.com. You can send me a note there and bring panelists on. We've got more guests lined up. We got a lot of fun things in the next few weeks, and it's going to be great. Last thoughts, you amazing panelists.
Don't let any of your limitations slow you down. Push through. It's you've got one life, right? So live it.
Yeah, right.
Do the best you can.
Do the best you can. Don't let age get in the
a
way.
Wheelchair, get out there. I see them everywhere.
Stay active.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of people in the comments said it tonight, but and you guys have all said it, being prepared and staying ahead of things, that includes just your health in general, exercising, eating a little bit better, is going to prevent a lot of issues. So it's probably the best thing you can do.
Yep, stay in motion. Don't let your dream die. And even if you can't get out there with us, you can live vicariously through us. That's cool too. We love that. Neil and Britt, what's your YouTube channel again?
Neil and Britt.
What? How clever is that? Yeah, it's going to be an exciting few months. So we're 1 month from, just a couple weeks from Thanksgiving. That's Christmas, and then it's January. That's the Florida RV Super Show in Tampa, the biggest RV event in the United States, really. I'm going to be there. You guys going? Neil, Britt?
No,
No,
Damn it.
we will be in
we will be in Mexico.
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 With Peggy and Ashley.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate Rob, John, Neil, Britt, and all the pets we didn't get to see tonight. Where's Willie?
He's,
Very
Adam walked in the
sad.
other
Where
room
are
because I
they?
knew we were- Willie, come here. Willie,
What's your cat's name again, John? I can't remember.
come here.
Frankie.
Come here.
Oh, we woke him up.
Oh, he's grumpy cat
Oh.
now. Oh, there's Willie.
He was
We
sleeping.
got him.
Yay. Look at him. He's like
Yeah,
dumbfounded. He's like, what are you doing? Willie. Willie's the best dog. He's great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Appreciate that. We'll see you next Wednesday and come at you live from a road trek vehicle. That's going to be cool. And a new video on Sunday. You guys in the studio, stay right there. And we like to say journey on and peace be with you. Thanks, everybody.